I'm going to quickly check if there's a shared or borrowed neutral between these two lighting circuits, which is ground floor, first floor lights and ground floor lights, right? So what I'm going to do is disconnect the neutral from the first floor lighting, which is this circuit here. I'm going to do an insulation resistance test between the neutral of that circuit and the line of the ground floor circuit. As you can see, I've pulled out the neutral of the first floor lighting, which is this circuit here, and I'm going to test on insulation resistance between the first floor neutral and the ground floor line conductor. Lock it on. Currently open. So that's ground floor line with first floor neutral. 100 odd megohms. Right, if you could flick the switches for me, mate, both of the switches. Boom, drops down to 0.03 megohms. So whilst that doesn't solve the issue, it's one of my pre-board upgrade checks to quickly check if there's a borrowed neutral. Right, you probably just saw me show you how to find if there's a borrowed or shared neutral in an installation. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. I'm going to tell you how I, over the years, have found the most effective and efficient way to remedy a borrowed or shared neutral. Unfortunately, there's no special magic wizardry that we can perform at the switches to make it work. You do have to install one extra cable. Normally, you may already know this, but the landing pendant is fed via a single insulated and sheath cable fed from the common terminal of the landing two-way up into the pendant, and it borrows a neutral from one of the other pendants on the first floor, and that's the point where it shares between first and ground floor. So what you need to do, you can do wireless switching. You could do the wireless switching method, but obviously that adds cost and stuff to adds an additional cost to the job. I can do it with one cable. Somewhere on the ground floor pendant, pick a pendant that's close, hallway or the lounge or the dining room, and you drop the pendant and you rod, and then you get up one board. So the best case scenario is that you use 2 meters of rod, one cable, one floorboard, and one length of conduit or mini trunking. Worst case scenario is that I do one chase from skirting to ceiling in one of the bedrooms in 150mm zone of the internal corners. But downstairs, drop a pendant, you rod to the edge of a bedroom somewhere, lift up the board, preferably in the landing cupboard. That's where I've done it before, where the immersion heater was or the old boiler was. There normally is a scrap bit of carpet in those cupboards. Lift that up, lift up the board, you rod there, and then you put a surface bit of trunking or conduit in that cupboard straight to the loft, and then you send that cable right over to the pendant. When you do that, you ditch the neutral, remove it from the pendant that it's supplied from. So if the installation has got a borrowed or shared neutral, I guarantee you it'll be a loop in, loop out system at the pendant. So you wire that 1mm or 1.5 on the permanent line, neutral and CPC. You send that all the way to the landing pendant, and you wire in the brown in the permanent line, the neutral, which most importantly, the neutral and the CPC, and you keep that single insulated sheath single core cable that comes from the common terminal on the landing, keep that in play, keep it in service. And then you've got the ground floor completely separate from the first floor. You've got 2 separate RCBOs now you can put in. 90% of the time, I can convince the customer for a couple of hours work and a little bit more money, especially when they invested so much in doing a consumer unit upgrade, to split the circuits. Explain to them the benefits of having the lighting circuit split over 2 RCBOs rather than 1. Section 314 of the regs, minimizing inconvenience in the event of a fault. Most of the time, again, 90% of the time, I can convince the client to do it. Sometimes I can't. And if I don't, they both go on the same RCBO. I'm still leaving the installation a lot safer than it was before the board change. Can't always convince every client to do the additional work. But that's how I do it. Over the years, that's how I've effectively managed to remedy or repair a borrowed or shared neutral. Is one cable, one floorboard, one length of conduit, and with 1 or sometimes 2 rods from a ground floor pendant to the edge of one of the bedrooms, 1 floorboard, and then either chase or conduit straight to the loft, and round to the landing pendant. That's how I've done it. Let me know how you've done it in the comments before. If you do another method, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. Perhaps I'll do another only van session in the back of the van again for another video. Let me know.